Throughout more than a century of building automobiles, General Motors has produced thousands of different models, from legendary machines admired worldwide to vehicles that might even puzzle their own engineers in hindsight. Not every strange car was a failure, and not all of them were ugly. Some were ahead of their time, born too early for the market to truly appreciate. Others reflected bold design trends of their era, but they all shared one thing in common. They made people turn their heads, sometimes in admiration, and sometimes just to confirm they had really seen what they thought they saw. Today, we'll explore the top 10 weirdest cars ever to wear a GM badge. From designs that broke every convention to engineering ideas that seemed almost unbelievable, these are the cars that have kept enthusiasts curious and arguing for years. And who knows, one of them might just be a car you once dreamed of owning, or perhaps one you actually had in your driveway. 1960 to 1969, Chevrolet Corvair. In the history of General Motors, few models have been as controversial and distinctive as the Chevrolet Corvair. Introduced in 1960, the name Corvair was a blend of Corvette and Bel Air. But instead of the familiar front-engine layout, GM took a bold step: an air-cooled engine mounted in the rear, driving the rear wheels through a transaxle. This was GM's attempt to challenge the Volkswagen Beetle, which was dominating the small car market. The Corvair was offered in 6 body styles: coupe, sedan, convertible, wagon, van, and even a pickup with a side door that could fold down to the ground. Its lightweight aluminum flat-six engine helped save weight, but with most of the mass at the rear, the car was prone to oversteer. GM recommended much lower tire pressure in the front than in the rear to reduce this risk, but many owners ignored it, leading to handling issues. The swing axle suspension, intended to improve ride comfort, instead contributed to instability. In 1965, Ralph Nader published Unsafe at Any Speed, criticizing the Corvair's design and severely damaging its sales, even though the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration later concluded it was no more dangerous than other cars of its era. Under pressure from the newly launched Ford Mustang and negative media coverage, the Corvair ended production in 1969. GM never returned to a rear-engine design. Nitten Sutito till Nitten Sutini Oldsmobile, a Buick Aerobach. In the late 1970s, General Motors launched a downsizing campaign, reducing vehicle size and weight to meet new fuel economy standards. On the 1978 A-body platform, the Chevrolet Malibu, Pontiac Le Mans, Oldsmobile Cutlass, and Buick Century all shed nearly 600 pounds, retained their body-on-frame rear-wheel drive layout, and adopted sharper, boxier styling. However, instead of keeping the traditional 3-box sedan shape for their 4-door models, Oldsmobile and Buick took a bold turn with a slant-back design they called the Aerobach. At first glance, the large rear window suggested a hatchback, but in reality, it was a standard trunk with a small opening, losing the practicality that hatchbacks were known for. Originally intended to be a true hatchback, the design was altered to a fixed rear glass to save costs. The Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon Aerobach even had a 442 version, but it was mostly an appearance package with a base V6 engine. Buick's Century Aerobach offered a turbo model, but performance was underwhelming. Public reaction was lukewarm, and sales for both models dropped by nearly half in just 1 year compared to 1977. By 1980, GM rushed back to a conventional sedan design, sales rebounded, and the Aerobach was discontinued entirely. 2005 to 2011, Chevrolet HHR. When the retro design trend peaked in the early 2000s, the Chevrolet HHR was launched with hopes of blending vintage charm with modern practicality. Introduced in 2005, HHR, short for Heritage High Roof, drew inspiration from the late 1948 Chevrolet Suburban, the company's first utility vehicle. Designed by Brian Nesbitt, the same man behind the Chrysler PT Cruiser, it was immediately compared to that rival. Built on GM's Delta platform, shared with the Chevrolet Cobalt, Saturn Ion, and Pontiac G5, the HHR offered a compact footprint for city driving while still providing a roomy interior. In addition to the standard model, Chevrolet released a panel version, removing the rear seats, adding a plastic load floor, and eliminating the exterior rear door handles, effectively creating a small cargo hauler. The highlight came with the 2008 HHR SS, powered by a 2.0-liter turbocharged engine producing 265 horsepower and paired with a manual transmission, delivering impressive performance for a mainstream model. The 2009 Panel SS was even more unusual, combining sporty power with discreet cargo utility. However, the HHR arrived after the retro wave had already crested. While initial sales were decent, over 105,000 units in 2007, demand soon declined. The SS was dropped in 2010, and the entire HHR line ended after 2011. 1996 to 2002, GME V1. The GME V1 stands as one of the boldest cars General Motors ever built, and one of the most controversial stories in American automotive history. Launched in 1996, the EV1 was GM's first purpose-built electric vehicle, developed from the 1990 Impact concept. Uniquely, it was never widely sold, but leased exclusively through select Saturn dealerships in a few warm-weather cities, as its battery pack performed poorly in cold climates. Aerodynamically optimized, the EV1 achieved an ultra-low drag coefficient of just 0.19, impressive even by today's standards. Early models used lead-acid batteries, later upgraded to nickel-metal hydride packs, offering a range of roughly 60 to 100 miles depending on conditions. The interior was minimalist, the chassis made of aluminum, with every detail focused on reducing weight and improving efficiency. Initially, GM planned to build thousands, but internal market research revealed almost zero profit potential. Meanwhile, California's zero-emission vehicle mandate required automakers to sell a certain percentage of EVs to continue doing business in the state. GM, along with other manufacturers, sued and overturned the regulation. By 1999, production ended with only 1,117 units built. In 2002, all remaining cars were recalled, most sent to the crusher. A few were preserved for museums or research, but with their drivetrains disabled. The EV1's demise inspired Elon Musk to invest in Tesla, and from that moment, GM has been playing catch-up in the electric vehicle race. 1980 to 1985, Cadillac Seville, Bustelback. When it entered its second generation in 1980, the Cadillac Seville shocked many with a highly unconventional rear-end design. The Bustelback, inspired by classic European luxury cars of the 1930s. The idea came from legendary GM designer Bill Mitchell, and it was one of his final projects before retirement. Compared to the first generation, 1975 to 1979, the new Seville switched to front-wheel drive and shared its platform with the Cadillac Eldorado. The Bustelback's trunk treatment gave the illusion of a shorter body, even though the overall length remained over 200 inches. The goal was to attract younger buyers who wanted something different from traditional luxury sedans. However, this bold styling arrived at the same time Cadillac was facing multiple technical problems. The V8 4-cylinder deactivation engine proved unreliable. The HT4100 V8 was underpowered and failure-prone, and the infamous Oldsmobile diesel further damaged the brand's reputation. On top of that, the new digital dashboard failed to appeal to Cadillac's typically older customer base. Sales dropped from over 50,000 units in 1979 to under 20,000 within just 2 years. By 1986, Cadillac reverted to a more traditional squared-off trunk in the third generation, a quiet admission that the Bustelback experiment had not been the success they had hoped for. 2003 to 2006 Chevrolet SSR. Launched in 2003, the Chevrolet SSR was one of GM's boldest attempts to blend retro styling with modern technology. Inspired by Chevrolet's advanced design pickups of the 1940s to 1950s, the SSR featured a distinctly retro front and fenders, paired with a power-retractable hardtop that transformed the pickup into a roadster in just seconds. Built on the GMT 360 platform, shared with the Chevrolet Trailblazer and GMC Envoy, the SSR replaced a traditional open bed with a fully enclosed cargo area under a fixed cover, making it function more like a large trunk than a true pickup. At launch, the SSR used a 5.3-liter V8, producing 300 horsepower, but its hefty 4,700-pound curb weight limited performance. In 2005, Chevrolet upgraded it to the 6.0-liter LS2 V8 with 390 horsepower, significantly improving acceleration, and added a 6-speed manual option. Despite attracting attention for its unique design, the SSR struggled to define its market. Not quite a sports car, yet not a traditional truck, it became an oddity in Chevrolet's lineup. Annual sales hovered around 9,000 units, and production ended in 2006, closing out at the Lansing Craft Center. 2004 to 2005 GMC Envoy XUV. Launched in 2004, the GMC Envoy XUV was one of GM's strangest attempts at creating an unprecedented multi-purpose SUV. Based on the GMT 360 platform shared with the Chevrolet Trailblazer, Buick Rainier, and Oldsmobile Bravada, GMC transformed it into a pickup SUV hybrid thanks to a unique power-sliding rear roof. The standout feature was a rear roof section that could slide forward at the push of a button, turning the enclosed cargo area into an open bed capable of carrying tall items. The tailgate could either swing out like a van door or fold down like a traditional pickup. Additionally, a midgate behind the second-row seats allowed the cargo area to remain watertight when needed. The concept echoed the 1963 Studebaker Wagonaire, but GMC added modern touches and greater versatility. However, the power roof mechanism and reinforced structure added about 90 pounds and raised the highest point of the vehicle by 2 inches, negatively affecting handling. The XUV was only offered in the long wheelbase version, replacing the third-row seats with a cargo hold, a move that disappointed some family buyers. Despite its uniqueness, it failed to attract a large enough audience. Only about 27,000 were sold over 2 years, with sales dropping sharply in the second year, prompting GMC to discontinue it after 2005. 2001 to 2005 Pontiac Aztec. Introduced in 2001, the Pontiac Aztec is often cited as one of the ugliest cars GM ever made. but its story goes far beyond appearance. Built on the U-body minivan platform, the Aztek was Pontiac's attempt to create a sporty crossover before the term crossover had even gone mainstream. Its styling was deeply polarizing. The split-level headlights and extensive gray plastic cladding made it either instantly disliked or oddly appealing for its uniqueness. Targeting young, active buyers, Pontiac pushed an adventure vehicle image, offering features like a center console cooler, a two-piece rear hatch, and an optional tent that attached directly to the back of the vehicle. While the features were creative, the styling drove most buyers away. Sales never exceeded 28,000 units per year, and after just 5 years, the Aztek was discontinued in 2005. Its platform mate, the Buick Rendezvous, featured tamer styling and sold much better, proof that the Aztek's main problem was its looks rather than its functionality. Fate took a surprising turn when the Aztek became Walter White's car in the hit series Breaking Bad. This role transformed it into a pop culture icon, boosting used values slightly and attracting a small but loyal fan base. 1990 to 1996 Dustbuster minivans. In the early 1990s, General Motors set out to compete in the minivan segment, dominated by Chrysler. The result was the Chevrolet Lumina APV, Pontiac Transport, and Oldsmobile Silhouette, quickly nicknamed Dustbusters by the public due to their long noses and steeply raked windshields, which made them resemble handheld vacuum cleaners. The biggest difference with the Dustbuster minivans was their composite plastic body panels, similar to the Pontiac Fiero and Saturn models, which resisted rust but were difficult to repair if damaged. The sharply sloped windshield stretched the dashboard so far forward it felt like a miniature runway, giving the interior a spacious feel, but also frustrating some drivers. Despite their futuristic styling and lightweight construction, the Dustbuster vans only had a single passenger side sliding door, while Chrysler was introducing the more practical dual sliding doors. The Oldsmobile version was positioned as more upscale, yet none could outsell Chrysler or even Ford's Aerostar. By 1994, Chevrolet and Pontiac refreshed the front ends to make them look less extreme, but Oldsmobile kept the original styling until the entire lineup was replaced in 1996 with more conventional steel-bodied designs. This shift marked GM's retreat from its spaceship look in favor of safer, more conservative styling. 1991 to 1996 Chevrolet Caprice, fourth generation. When Chevrolet introduced the fourth-generation Caprice in 1991, public reaction split instantly. Some praised its boldness, while others compared it to a whale tail. After years of sticking with a traditional boxy sedan shape, GM broke the mold with rounded styling, skirted rear-wheel arches, and an overall length exceeding 18 feet. Despite the controversial looks, the Caprice retained the chassis, suspension, and engines from its predecessor. V8 options ranged from 4.3-liter to 5.7-liter, meeting needs from family transport to police and taxi fleets. In fact, sales topped 100,000 units annually for 5 straight years, largely thanks to government and fleet contracts. In 1994, Chevrolet launched the Impala SS, a high-performance variant based on the Caprice sedan, equipped with the Corvette-sourced 5.7-liter LT1 V8, producing 260 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. Initially offered only in black, later joined by dark cherry and dark green, the Impala SS quickly became a favorite among performance sedan fans. However, as the market shifted decisively toward SUVs, GM ended production of both the Caprice and Impala SS after 1996 to retool the plant for new SUV models. From the rear-engined Chevrolet Corvair to the controversial Pontiac Aztec, this list proves that General Motors has never been afraid to experiment with different ideas, whether they succeeded or failed. Each of these cars represents a moment when GM was willing to take risks, break conventions, and sometimes get ahead of the market curve. Some designs faded quickly into obscurity, while others became cultural icons or valuable collector's items. It's a reminder that automotive history isn't written only by bestsellers, but also by the cars that dared to be different. And sometimes, it's that very difference that makes them unforgettable. If you've ever owned or dreamed of owning one of the cars on this list, share your story in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next fascinating car story.